Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Speaking with Confidence. My name is Kat Matson, and on this show, I coach business owners, public servants, corporate hippies, and other humble leaders how to speak with authority, confidence, authenticity, and with impact so you can make your dent in the universe. Welcome to another episode. Today, I am talking about, I reckon it's one of my most commonly asked questions. How do I show up in online meetings? One, so I don't suck, but two, so I'm heard. Because, yeah, let's face it, since the world went online, we are all spending a lot of time in online meetings. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before I do that, though, welcome back if you're a regular listener, or if you're brand new to me, welcome. It's fabulous to have you here. In 2025, I'm sharing more of these coaching style episodes. So you can just keep coming back week after week and get the coaching and the support that you need to speak up and show up in all of the contexts of your life, whether it's meetings, whether it's on stages, whether it's webinars, whether it's podcasts. Because let's face it, speaking, I reckon it's the most powerful skill that you can have in your professional toolkit. It doesn't matter how smart, how clever, how experienced, how qualified you are. If you can't speak to get those ideas across, if you can't communicate those ideas when it counts, then it's hard to make the impact that you want. So that's why I do what I do. I should also let you know that I offer these little free coaching sessions, because one of the things I'm a massive fan of is working out loud. So if you'd like a free speaking coaching session with me, then just click the link below. It's in wherever you're listening, you will see it in the show notes for a free coaching session. And you can come onto the show and receive a complete coaching call with me, a full 30-minute coaching call, and I publish it. So everybody gets the benefit of what you learned. The other thing that I do is offer, particularly if that's a little bit too confronting, you don't want to be recorded, I offer a 20-minute confidence boosting curiosity call. If you just need to know what you need to work on, like what's getting in the way for you showing up, then a confidence boosting curiosity call is where to start. And the link for that is also in the show notes. So let's get stuck into online meetings. As I said, we're all spending a lot of our lives in online meetings, and they can be a really tough environment to facilitate. I mean, people are multitasking, people are looking at their phones, they're answering their emails. Sometimes they've even got their screen off and you don't, their camera off, and you don't even know whether they're in the room. So here's my top tips for facilitating online meetings that don't suck, as well as for, if you're not necessarily the chair of the meeting, how to contribute to an online meeting in a way that you can be heard. So first of all, if you are chairing a meeting, if you are the host, encourage, don't insist, encourage people to turn their cameras on. Now, why do I say encourage but don't insist? Because I'm fully aware that different processing styles don't work well when they're forced to engage with a camera. So don't insist. If people know themselves to be able to absorb the information better in just an audio only environment, or they do need to look at something else, or they need to knit or something, like they need to do something else with their hands and they don't feel comfortable doing that online, leave them be. Let them leave their camera off. But encourage people. And you can encourage people to have their camera on by simply saying, it's lovely to see everyone's faces. I don't care how casual you look. Don't care whether you've got your makeup on. Ideally, I'd like it if you had clothes on. But, I don't mind. Please, if you feel comfortable, turn on your camera. Now, the other thing to remember, what does an online meeting mimic? TV. And if you are older than 25, for most of us, TV is a very passive activity. We sit and we watch a screen. And when we're watching a TV show, then there's lots of movement, there's dialogue, there's all sorts of things happening. But even then, what else are we doing when we're watching TV these days? Yeah, you got it. We're multitasking, we're scrolling, we're doing things. So even with a high movement environment like a TV show, we're still multitasking. But what do we do when we're hosting a meeting? We sit quite still and we talk in a monotone voice and we go through all of the things that need to be gone through. And because we're not getting any engagement and because everybody else has got their microphones off, and so we don't have that normal conversation dynamic that's happening in a face-to-face meeting, we just keep talking like this and we're not moving our hands, we're not creating any movement on our screen, and we're wondering why people are disengaging. So the first thing is you need to create movement. Now, if you're watching the video of this, you will be seeing that I've got my hands up near my face. I'm using my hands for no particular reason other than to create movement. I'm using my hands like to emphasize, but I'm keeping my hands up around my face so they are within camera shot. The other thing, talk through the camera. Don't be looking down at your notes. Talk in fake eye contact. And why I say fake eye contact is because most of the time people are looking at themselves on the screen or they're looking at the other people on the screen. But the problem is when you're looking at the people on the screen, you're not actually making eye contact. So stare through, or not stare, look through the camera. Look through the camera to mimic eye contact, and you'll find that your engagement increases. The other thing with online meetings is encourage people to use the chat. Like really encourage people to use the chat, because that then mimics what happens when you're in a real life meeting sitting around a table. You know, that banter and the side conversations that can happen when you're in a face-to-face meeting, that disappears in an online environment because everyone's got their microphones turned off except for the person who's speaking. And if somebody tries to talk over the person speaking, then the microphone's cut out and it's all just awkward. But if you're using chat, if you're encouraging people to drop your chat, drop your comments, drop your thoughts into the chat while I'm talking so so we can keep going, then you'll get side conversations. Encourage people to use the emojis as well. Now, how do you do this? You can say it at the top of every meeting that you host. Just a couple of pieces of housekeeping. I'd love it if you could turn your cameras on, but no stress if you can't. And use the chat. Use the chat. Now, you might have noticed something else that I just started doing in that introduction piece. I sped up my speaking. Now, I understand that for a lot of people that might not feel really natural. Sometimes we tend to slow down when we're hosting an online meeting, and the problem is that feels amplified when people are just sitting at their desk, they've got 5 million tabs open, there's other things pinging for their attention. And yeah, you kind of do need to compete a little bit. And so speeding yourself up, engaging, putting your hands up around your face, encourage people to use the chat, putting a bit of pace into it really helps to bring out the engagement. One other tip that I want to leave you with today when it comes to online meetings that don't suck is pause frequently, far more frequently than you would in a face-to-face meeting, to ask questions. What does everybody think of that? And then pause. Because people need to actually snap back and go, oh, she's asking me a question. They need to unmute themselves. They need to type something into the chat box. Pause. And if you're not comfortable with the dead air that happens with a pause, then just keep asking. Tell me, what does everybody think of that? Does that all make sense? Please just open up your mic, drop something into the chat. Just let me know, what does everybody think of that? Do you have any questions? Literally just banter on for a few minutes until you get some input. Having said that, nothing will get more input than a silence. Because if people have tuned out, if they are multitasking, that silence will have them wondering what's going on. I can't hold a silence for too long on a podcast because you'll think that something really has gone on. I said that was the final tip, but it's reminded me of one more, so I'll share that with you. Hybrid meetings. If you have some people in the room and some people online, it's really easy for the people online to disconnect and disengage really quickly, because all of the side conversation, all of the social stuff that is happening in a face-to-face environment, they're completely left out of. Completely left out of. So you actually need to be even more conscious of bringing them in, even more present to bringing those people who are online into the room. So one of the, like, as basic as it sounds, I actually have post-it notes up on my screen when I'm hosting a hybrid meeting with the names of the people who are online, because I can get really caught up in talking to all of the people who are here in the room with me, and I'll forget, oh, there are people, watching from somewhere else. So I'll have the post-it notes and I will make sure that I'm checking in. Bob, does that make sense? Have you got anything to add? Julie, is anything from you? Like, frequently be checking in. Frequently, frequently, frequently. I have recorded an episode on online meetings that don't suck in the past, so I'll pop that into the show notes as well in case I said something there that I didn't say here. I honestly can't remember. It's been a while. But I'd love to hear from you. What are your top tips for hosting online meetings that don't suck? If you want to let me know over on Instagram or on LinkedIn. You can easily find me at Kat Matson. Kat is with a C, and Matson has a T in the middle. Matson. Simply just let me know that you've been listening to this episode 134, 135, 134, whichever one it is. And let me know, what are your top tips, or what have you seen other people do in online meetings that has really, really worked? The other thing I want to remind you of course, is this is a coaching podcast. And if you would like some more personalized insight, then there are two ways that you can do that. You can book in for a free 30-minute coaching call with me, and we will go through what gets in the way for you when it comes to showing up and speaking up in your environments. The reason it's free is because I then make it available as a podcast episode for others to learn from. So you can click on the link for a free coaching session in the show notes below. If you would just like to have a more general conversation around what you might need to work on, then I highly recommend a confidence boosting curiosity call with me, confidence boosting curiosity call, and that link is in the show notes as well. I look forward to seeing you on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or on one of those calls. And until I see you next week for another episode of Speaking with Confidence with Kat Matson, here's to confidence and here's to impact. I'll see you really soon.